Started. A very warm good morning to all. I, Professor Shweta Patnaik, Organizing Secretary of the event, welcome you all to this live national webinar on publication ethics and bibliometrics, hosted by Choitram College of Nursing. I am thankful to Dr. Aradhna Michael Ma'am, Principal, Choitram College of Nursing, for giving me this opportunity to host the event. I welcome all the participants attending today's session. And we really regret for starting the session so late as we were facing some technical issues. So, academic research involves many coordinated steps and processes, appropriate study design, study execution, data collection, data analysis, and finally publication. While going through these steps and culminating into a publication can be an exhilarating experience, one should be aware of ethical code of conduct that binds researchers at every stage. Ethical standards for publication exist to ensure high quality scientific publication, trust in scientific findings, and that people receive credit for their ideas. Academic publishing, to a greater extent, depends on the trust. Editors trust peer reviewers, authors trust editors, and finally, readers put their trust in the peer review process. But why do the researchers publish? In other words, what are the common motivations to publish? Well, it may be different for each individual. First thing that comes up to my mind is to show colleagues what I have done, maybe to boost up myself or to receive comments or maybe some advice for my future research work. Whatever is the motivation to publish, the actual situation in the scientific field is very tough. The pressure to publish in recent years is increasing. Competitions among peers are tremendous. The number of papers and impact factor of the journal in which a paper is published becomes the most important factor in the evaluation of a researcher ability. Promotions, funding, and sharing of funds, the number of grants, the number of graduate students, and even waiving mandatory lecture hours are all part of what has been published. In addition, the recent introduction of commercialization concept into the scientific society distracts scientists to pay attention to get the patent. Bibliometrics, on the other hand, analyzes the impact of research output in a quantitative measure, but it complements the qualitative measures too, such as peer review, funding received, the number of patents, and awards granted. Together, they assess the quality and impact of the research. So today we are going to discuss these two topics in detail, which are very much need-based in today's scenario. And we have with us our eminent speaker and research expert, Dr. Shiv Balan from Pravra Institute of Medical Sciences, Loni, Maharashtra. I welcome you, sir, to this webinar. And indeed, we are privileged to you for giving the consent for becoming the resource person for today's session. Welcome, sir. Many of you may be knowing Professor Shiv Balan, but still, for those who do not know, I would be giving an introduction about him. Sir is Professor and Principal, Dean Faculty of Nursing at Pravra Institute of Medical Sciences, Loni, Maharashtra. Sir has completed PhD in Nursing Sciences and has been awarded postdoctoral fellowship by Nursing Research Society of India, NRSI. Dr. Shiv Balan has started his career as a staff nurse at Wokhart Hospital and Heart Institute, Bangalore, and thereafter he has more than 14 years of teaching experience. Sir has completed successfully 19 research projects and few are still continuing. To his credit, there are many national and international research publications done. Sir has been a guide and mentor for many postgraduate students and PhD scholars. Sir has presented more than 10 scientific papers in various conferences at international and national level. He has delivered more than 30 guest lectures at various CNEs and has chaired many scientific sessions nationally and internationally. Sir has been an organizer and planner for many conferences and workshops. Talking individually about research, Sir has attended 13 such research and faculty development programs. He is holding various reputed positions in different committees like chairman for IEC, that is Pravra, member board of management, member board of studies at Pravra and Charusat, joint editor for NRSI, and many more. Dr. Shiv Balan has worked as a senior researcher in government project, that is state level project on evaluation of community based monitoring under NRHM in Maharashtra, and research associate in the state level project on rapid assessment study to access safe access abortion services in Maharashtra by SHSRC Pune. To his honor, there are many awards which has been received by him. Few among them are: Sir is a university rank holder in his post graduation, received Best Library User Award at Pravra, received Best Poster and Presentation and Scientific Paper Award, recipient of Leonos Faculty Exchange Program, and visited the University of Sport, Sweden in 2012. Recipient of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Award for Teaching Excellence, authored textbook on nursing research and statistics by CBS publishers. And still, there's a lot about Sir, but time is not permitting me to continue. With this, I welcome you, Sir, once again to this live national webinar on publication ethics and bibliometrics. A small announcement to all the participants that you may please write the queries, whatever you have, in the comment box. Sir will be definitely answering to all the questions at the end of the session. For receiving the e-certificates, you need to complete the session, fill up the feedback form. The link for the feedback form will be shared soon after the session gets over. So now I hand over this session to our speaker. Welcome you, sir. So you may please start. Sir.
हेलो
Yes, sir, you may please start.
सर मेरा आवाज आ रहा है
Yes,
हेलो
sir, it's coming. It's coming, sir.
आई एम ऑडिबल मैडम
Yes, sir, it's audible. You may please start, sir.
मिस कैन आई स्टार्ट नाउ
Yes, sir.
yes okay thank you madam for your brief introduction and yeah firstly I'm warm greetings from Pravara Institute of Medical Sciences. Yeah, yes, yes. Hope everyone is fine and comfortable and healthy at your home. And I am thankful to Dr. Arada Michael Madam, the principal of Choitram College of Nursing, and Professor Sweta Patnaik, my good friend of this organizing secretary of this particular webinar, and all the faculty members of Choitram College of Nursing. And I'm regretful. I'm giving my apology for the technical error where I could not able to start the session on time. Anyway, the topic of this today's session is the publication ethics and bibliometries. It was said in the introduction that the publication is one of the important component of the scientific community. And when we are publishing the articles, what are all the ethics we have to consider, we have to follow, and what is the significance of bibliometries when you are publishing your research manuscript. These things we are going to discuss in this 1 hour session. Yeah, everyone knows that research is a systematic way of finding answer to your questions. Whatever statement of problem you are having, based on your statement of problem, what is your objectives, and based on your objectives and hypothesis, you are finding the answer to that particular question is called as research. And this research will help you to validate as well as refine the existing knowledge, and as well as it helps to develop the new body of knowledge. That is the purpose we are performing the research activities in our every profession. The importance of conducting the research is to develop a scientific body of knowledge, scientific body of nursing knowledge. We have to carry out the research activities, and it provides evidence based nursing practice, and we can able to provide the cost effective nursing care, and most importantly you can able to understand the subjective feeling as well as the perception of the individual with the help of the qualitative type of research studies. This is the reason why we perform your research activities. Means after completion of your research, why we need to publish our research work? Because it's a famous saying that the research is not completed until unless it is published. The research not published is research half done. That's why it is having the greater significance when you publish your research article to the scientific community or to the public. Then only the people will come to know the research findings. That findings will help them to use in their clinical practice. That's why the research is not completed, the research is not published, is called as research half done. That's why when you publish your research articles, it contributes to the advancement of knowledge, and it shares the knowledge, what information you are having, that will be shared to other individual, thereby they can able to utilize in their clinical practice. And again it promotes the research culture among the nursing fraternities. And most importantly, as a faculty, it is very important to have a research publication for the career advancement as well as for the promotion. Because as per the MCI guideline, as an assistant professor you need to have a two research publication in the industry journal, then only you are promoted to associate professor. That's why for the promotional policies as well as for the career advancement of the individual, you need to have a research publications. These research publications commonly done in the process which is called as publication process. There you have to submit your research manuscript as per the guidelines which is given by the particular journal where you are submitting your articles. That is called as submission. Once you submit your articles to that particular journal, the journal will send the article to the reviewers. They will review your article, and whatever comments or whatever remarks or whatever suggestion they give, that has to be corrected. That has comes under the third step. You have to correct your manuscript, you have to modify your manuscript as per the suggestions, as per the remarks given by the reviewer. Then you have to resubmit it. Once it is resubmitted to the publications company or publications journal, then they will give the letter that your article is accepted for publication, and it is in the process of publication. When the publication issue is in due, then your article will be published in the journal. This is the process. It's a simple common process which is followed by every journal in India as well as in the globe. You have to submit your article will go for review process. After the review process, you have to modify, you have to correct the article and resubmit it, then it goes for publication. And when the articles are published in the journal, the journals will follow the important ethical guidelines or the code of conduct or the best practice guidelines that is given by the Committee on Publication Ethics, International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. These are the two international voluntary agency or voluntary forum which gives the code of conduct or which gives the guidelines how to publish, and what are the publication misconduct will be there, that how you can able to overcome that, all will be taken care by these two important voluntary agencies. Yeah, these are the common publication misconduct what you come across when you are publishing your articles. First thing is the ethical approval and the consent process. Plagiarism, that is the most commonest publication misconduct. Simultaneous publication, duplicate publication, data manipulation, self citation, ethics with authorship issues, conflict of interest, then publication in the predatory journals. These are the common publication misconduct which is commonly taking place among the scientific community, that we will be discussing in detail in the forthcoming slides. First thing is the ethics approval and the consent process. Means as a researcher, it is mandatory I should get the ethics committee approval before I commence the research work or before I go for the publication of my research manuscript. That's why when the researcher is doing any drug trial or clinical trial, he has to undergo the approval which is approved by the DCGI, that is called as Drugs Controller General of India. If a researcher is doing any drug trial or any medication trial, whether first level or the second level or third level, whatever level the drug trial it may be, you have to undergo the ethics committee approval. The committee must have a recognition from the DCGI. That is very very important. If you are doing the drug trial which is not recognized by the DCGI, then your article will not be accepted for publication. And if you are doing any clinical trial, whether you are doing any kind of investigation, or if you are doing any kind of interventions, you are doing any new treatment, combination of treatment, then you need to undergo the CTRI registration. They will be giving the CTRI number. With the CTR registration number, you can go for your research work, and when you are publishing your research findings, they will be asking your CTRI registration number. That's why it is these two things are very very important when you are going for publications. And whenever you are doing the research activities, always we have to follow the ICMR guidelines, Indian Council of Medical Research. They give the proper guidelines for biomedical research. That ICMR guidelines has to be followed when you are approving the research proposal, or whenever you are submitting your research proposal for your publication. That's why the ICMR guidelines also plays a major role when you are submitting your research proposal. Yeah, this DCGI and ICMR consent form also is very, very important. When you are taking the consent from the research participant, the consent form cannot be taken as per the wish. The consent form has a standard guideline, standard format, which is given by the DCGI for the drug trial, ICMR for the investigational studies. You have to follow the consent form that has to be taken when you are doing your research studies. Then when these editorial board, when you are submitting your research manuscript for the publication, the editorial board may ask the proof of consent form. As a researcher, I have to keep my consent form minimum of 3 to 5 years. At the maximum 5 year, I have to keep the consent form, because the editorial may ask any time to see that whether you have taken from the concern from the research participant. To prove that you have taken the concern from the research participants, you have to keep your concern forms ready for minimum 5 years after the termination of your research work. Yeah, the second thing is the plagiarism. This is the most commonest publication misconduct which is commonly taking place in the academic community, the scientific community, whom we call is as a faculty members whom they want, because they want to have a more number of publication, they want to have promotions, other benefits, because they go for more number of publication by doing the plagiarism. Plagiarism is called as academic dishonesty, and it is the breach of ethics, and it is the theft of intellectual property, because you are using someone else's work as your own. That's why it is called as theft of intellectual property. That's why it is the commonest problem what you are facing when you are going for the problems is plagiarism. And as per the World Association of Medical Ethics, they have given the guideline that when 6 consecutive words are copied, then it is called as plagiarism. And this is commonly done because you have a policy, or you have a mode that the publish or perish, because every faculty member wants to have a publication more in number. Because of this publish and or perish, that concept, there is a more chance of having the plagiarism. And these plagiarisms are having the two types of plagiarism: data plagiarism and self plagiarism. Data plagiarism is nothing but you are copying the data, you are copying the facts, or you are copying the information from others, but which is not acknowledged, which is not cited, and you are saying it is your own article. That is called as data plagiarism. Self plagiarism is nothing but you are citing your own articles. That is called as self plagiarism. This is the level of plagiarism. As per the UGC guideline, they are permitting certain limit. Maximum limit is 10 percentage. If your plagiarism, if your research manuscript or your proposal is having more than 10 percentage of plagiarism, then they will be they will not be consider your proposal, or they will not consider your manuscript for the publication. And they have given the three levels of plagiarism: level 1, level 2, and level 3. And level 1 is, that is when you are having the similarities between 10 percentage to 40 percentage, it is called as level 1 plagiarism. And if you are having 40% to 60 percentage of plagiarism, it is called as level 2. And if you are having the plagiarism or the similarities more than 60%, it is called as level 3 plagiarism. And these plagiarisms can be identified with the help of the plagiarism checking software, which is paid software, or some are available free of cost on the Google platform. But when this is the commonest software, the Urkun software, Turnitin, Viper, Soft Assign, Cross Check, and Authenticate. These are the commonly used software to identify the plagiarism, the percentage of plagiarism the research manuscript or the research project is having. That is commonly used, and this Urkun software is the commonly used software for the scientific community, which is approved by the UGC. You have to get the certificate that my research proposal or my research project or my research manuscript is having the percentage of plagiarism only 3%, 4%. That has to be taken certificate from the Urkun software. This is the three levels of common levels of plagiarism what you are coming across in the research community. The first one is the self plagiarism. Self plagiarism is nothing but the reproduction in part or whole of one's own previously published work without adequate citation or without proper acknowledgement, claiming that this is the new work or it is a new original work, is called as self plagiarism. And it is otherwise, in simple term, it is called as test recycling, and it is not acceptable as per the UGC guidelines, as per the UGC circular April 2020. The self plagiarism is not acceptable. Yeah, then what is the penalties for the students? The person who is doing the plagiarism, what is the penalty? If he is a student, he will not be given any mark, or he will not be given any credits, and he will be asked to resubmit the proposal or resubmit the manuscript within 6 months. That is the first level of plagiarism. If he is doing the second level of plagiarism, then he will not be given any marks, and he will not be given any credits, and he will be asked to submit the manuscript or submit the proposal after 1 year of period. It is very important. They will not be given time period, they will be giving you time after 1 year, because 1 year you will be losing. That's why the plagiarism is very very important. And if you are doing the plagiarism more than 40 percentage, you will not be permitted to submit your proposal, or you are not permitted to submit your manuscript within 1 year. They will be, you will be terminated, or you will be giving a time period after 1 year only, but you have not more than 18 months. Then when you are having the third level, that is more than 60 percentage of plagiarism, you will not given any mark, you are not given any credits, and your registration will be cancelled. You note that this is very very important. Your registration for that particular course, whether MD, MS, PG program, your registration will be considered as cancelled if you are having the plagiarism of more than 60 percentage. And this is the recent circular, September 2017 UGC circular. Any student, any research scholar who is submitting the manuscript with this kind of percentage of plagiarism, they will be penalized as per these guidelines. Yeah, then what is the penalties for the faculty and the research scholars? And if it is a first level plagiarism, that is 10%, means 10 to 40%, then if the faculty is asked to withdraw the manuscript for the publication, and he is not permitted to allow for publication for minimum of 1 year. And if he is doing the level 2 plagiarism, he will be asked to withdraw the manuscript, and he will not be given permission to publish the article for 2 years, and he will be denied for the right to get one increment. He will not be given for one increment, and he will not be allowed to supervise any student, UG, PG, MPhil, PhD, any kind of students he will not be permitted to supervise for minimum of 2 years. And if he is having the plagiarism more than 60 percentage, he will be asked to withdraw the manuscript for publication. He is not allowed to permit the permission for the publication for minimum of 3 years, and he will not able to go for the he will not able to ask for the increment for 2 successive year, and he will not be given any candidate for the supervision, UG or PG or MPhil or PhD, for minimum of 3 years. This is the penalties which will be given, which will be imposed on the faculty as well as the research scholars when he is performing the plagiarism activities, which is given by the UGC. Yeah, this is called as pre-registration course. Me, the UGC wants to sensitize all the research scholars in relation to the publication ethics and the publication misconduct. That's why they came up with the 30 hours uh, module or the course, which is 22 credit points, which is called as research and publication ethics, and they made it compulsory for all the MPhil, PhD, and the other scholars. They have to undergo this particular research module training, as like research methodology also is compulsory. Similar way, the research and publication ethics course also is compulsory for every student who are enrolling for MPhil courses and PhD courses. And the main purpose of this particular course is to create awareness about the publication ethics and the publication misconduct among the research scholars. And this was given in the December 2019, and from January 2020 this pre-registration course is compulsory for all the research scholars. Yeah, then another issue or the another misconduct what we are facing is the simultaneous publication. Because as a researcher, as a faculty member, I will be having the doubt that whether my article will be published, whether my article will be accepted in that particular journal. That's why in that case I will send my article to two or more different journals. Whichever journal gives acceptance letter, then I will be happy that my article will be published. But it is ethically, it is not acceptable. It is the misconduct from the author's side. That's why the submission of manuscript to the different multiple journal at the same time is not acceptable, and it is not considered for the publication also. It is important that the researcher, whoever is submitting the article, he has to submit the article in only one journal. If the journal reject your article, it is not accepted for publication, then you can go for the next journal for publication. That's why, to avoid all these simultaneous publication, the publishing agencies or the editorial board will ask the researcher to submit the declaration form. That the declaration form will state that the manuscript is original manuscript, it is submitted to this particular journal, it is not given to any other journal for publication. That kind of declaration form they will be taking for when you are submitting your articles to the publication. Then another important thing is that the faculty members or the research scholar will be having the doubt that if I present the paper in the scientific forum or in the conferences, whether this scientific presentation will not be considered for the publication. That's why when you present the article, that is totally different. The same presented article can be published in the journals. In that case, that will not come under the ethical violation. That's why if I present the paper in the journal, in the conferences, the same articles can be published in the journals. Yeah, then another common problem what you are facing is the duplicate publication. Means the submitting the manuscript containing the same hypothesis, data, discussion points, and conclusion as previously published manuscript. It is more or less similar to the plagiarism. Instead of copying the phrases or verbatim, you are copying the same data, same facts, same objectives, and same hypothesis. But only thing, you are changing the title of the article, and you are changing the order of the authors. That is called as duplicate publication. It is not acceptable as per the ethical guidelines. Another thing is the common duplicate publication what we will be facing is the salami slicing. otherwise called as salami publication. Means you have conducted research activity, one research activity, but you are publishing the articles or you are publishing the manual out of one research activity, four or five, because you are publishing one research objective as a one publication, second research objective as a second publication. That is called a salami slicing or salami publication, which is not acceptable by the ethical principles of publication ethics. You see here, one study, you do one study, you are performing one study. Out of one study, first of the, for example, if you want to identify the effectiveness of uh, effectiveness of nutritional program on prevention of anemia. The first objective is you have to identify the prevalence of anemia. Second objective, you are going to identify the impact of that particular intervention nutritional program on prevention of anemia. You are publishing one article, that is the prevalence of anemia. You are writing the title called assessment or the prevalence of anemia among rural population. That will be your one publication. Impact of nutritional program on prevention of anemia will be your second publication. That will not be accepted. That's why whenever you are doing the research study, one publication. You cannot go for each and every objective as a one publication. That will not be accepted as per the publication ethics, and it is called as salami slicing or salami publication. Yeah, this salami publication is commonly done in the regional journals as well as non-English journal. This is the common journal where you go for the duplicate publication. But when you are doing the research study with the larger number of sample size, then that study cannot be considered as a duplicate study. It is considered as a new study. Means it is considered as a new another study, because you might have done the study with the 30 sample, but when you are doing the research study with the more than 500 sample or more than 400 sample with the new sample size, that will not be considered as a duplication of the publication as per the COPE guidelines. Yeah, another publication misconduct is the data manipulation. There are two common types of data manipulation, which is data fabrication and data falsification. Data fabrication is nothing but invention of new data, making up of data. The common example is the informed consent, which you might have not taken the consent from each and every participant, but you are making the informed consent. Or you are another common fabrication is the fashion diaries. They might have not maintained the diaries properly, but you are marking. That is called as fabrication of data or making up of data is called as fabrication. And another common data manipulation is the falsification is nothing but deliberate alteration, means distortion or omission of the data, which is called as falsification. Because you are getting the data which is not significant, because you want to show that your intervention is having the significant difference. That's why you omit that particular result, or you try to change the numbers. That is called as falsification. That another common example what we have na, inflation of sample size. You might have done the samples, you might have done the research study with only 50 sample, but you, because the publication company or the authors might have asked you to give the research study with the more number of sample size, then you will try to manipulate your sample size. That is called as data falsification. And this is commonly identified by the editorial board or the reviewer by seeing your statistics, by seeing your tables, p values, confidence intervals, and odds ratio. The researcher, the editorial board member will try to identify this is the data which is falsified, which is deliberate changes has done in that particular research study. That they can able to identify. And if the editorial board member, or if the editor is having the suspicion the researcher might have done manipulation, then he has the right to ask the author to disclose the raw data sheet, because it is the responsibility of the researcher to give the data sheet, that is we commonly called as a coding sheet, master sheet. That has to be given to the editor, then they can able to verify. Thereby you can able to avoid the data manipulation. Yeah, another common publication misconduct is the self-citation. Means citing one's own published work in a subsequent paper that are out of context to the research being reported. Means you are citing your own article in your publication. That is called as self-citation. And this is considered as unethical. It is considered as unethical of the scientific community, because this is commonly done if you want, because you want to increase your citation. You want to increase your citation, but thereby you will be getting more number of H index, or you will be getting highest G index or I10 index. That's why you want to increase your index factor. That's why you are doing the self citation. Self citation is not acceptable. It is publication misconduct, and this is commonly done to improve your H index. It is uh, used for the academic promotion, because you want to have a promotion or other academic or the scientific benefit. You want to have your index increase. That's why you go for the self citation. Yeah, here you see here. Yes, your papers seem to have a lot of citations, but I have checked, they are all self-citation, because it is not accepted, because my article has to be cited by some other faculty, some other researcher. Thereby, I will be having the value, or I will be having the impact of that particular article. See here, you see here, struggling scientists, please cite my papers. This is commonly done by the PG guides. The guide will tell the students or the as the uh, scholars, you cite my article. Thereby he will be having more number of citation, then he will be having more number of H index or high index or G index. That's why they will ask the PG students or the PhD students to cite the PhD guides articles publication. That is not acceptable, because when the research scholar is cited by you, cited by other people by your article, then it shows that how much value, how much impact your article is having. But self citation is not acceptable, and citation by the PG student also is not acceptable. Yeah, another common ethical misconduct what you will be facing is ethics with authorship. Means author is the individual who has made a significant intellectual contribution to that particular study, starting from the writing from proposal to till the manuscript publication. They are called as authors. The person who is contributing maximum is called as principal author or the principal investigator. The person who is contributing with the lesser percentage is called as co-authors. Author 1, author 2, author 3, like that. That's why the person who is making significant contribution in the intellectual contribution in the research study for conduction as well as for publication is called as authors. And in these authors, there are three common misconduct, or the my common violation of ethical principle. That first one is the ghost author, guest author, and gift author. Ghost author is nothing but the person might have contributed significantly as a principal investigator, as a principal author, as a corresponding author. I am not acknowledging that particular person is called as ghost author. Or you will be giving your your research data to someone to make manuscript instead of yourself. That is called as ghost author. That's why that is not acceptable. Whoever is contributed, whoever is done significant work for your research work or the publication, it has to be acknowledged. That is called as ghost author. Then second one is the guest author. The person is not done any significant contribution, but when you are listing his name in the authors list, that will increase your chance of publication. That is called as guest author. Means your principal might not be your might not contributed significantly in your research work, but when you are including the principal or the dean's name in your author list, but thereby you will be having the more chance of publication. That is called as guest authorship. Then the gift authorship is nothing but the whose contribution is based on solely on the tenacious affiliation with that particular study. Because as a guide, my name has to come as a second author. That is called as gift authorship. The main work is done by the PG students or the PhD scholar. He will be the principal investigator, but he will be making the PG guide or the PhD guide as a gifts authors. That is called a second author. That is called as gift authorships. But again, the guest author, gift author, all will be depends on the research scholars whether he wants to include or he wants to not to include in that particular publications. Yeah, here you see the comics. Welcome to the co-authors party. You are a number 21. Because there is no value when you are including the number of faculty members in that particular authors list, because the value will be there only with the principal investigator and the co-investigator. And if the, as per the Vancouver style, you can have more than six number of authors also, but that when you are including more number of author, it indicate that they have not contributed significantly. It is only for the publication purpose their names are included in the publications. Yeah, the next common misconduct is the conflict of interest. Means it's a financial, personal, social, and other interests which directly or indirectly influence the conduct of that author with respect to that particular research work or the particular research manuscript is called as conflict of interest. And when you are submitting your manuscript for publication, it is mandatory to disclose that the form for disclosure of conflict of interest. Whoever is involved for that particular research work, author, co-author, third author, whoever it may be, everybody has to sign the conflict of interest disclosure form. They have to sign it, and it has to be submitted along with your manuscript for publication to the publication journals. And these conflict of interest will be having two types, that is the direct conflict of interest and indirect conflict of interest. As a principal investigator, if I am having any employment, or if I am owning any stocks, or if I am having the patents, or if it is my device or my drug, my intervention, then you will be having the direct conflict of interest. You have to mention in the conflict of interest disclosure form that I am the principal investigator, I am the person who has invented that particular device. You have to disclose it. The indirect conflict of interest will arise if you are getting honorarium, or if you are getting any grants from that particular publication agency or the particular research companies. Then you have to disclose that I am having the honorarium, or I am getting the money from that particular agency. That has to be disclosed properly. Yeah, another common publications misconduct is the publication in a predatory journals. This is called as dubious journal. The journal which is not having any credentials, which is not indexed in the indexing status, that is called as predatory journals. And this is also publication in the predatory journals also is one of the major unethical practices in the scientific community, because in India there are more percentage of research articles published in the predatory journals which is not under the UGC care list, because UGC has given the list of journal which is approved by the UGC, which is indexed in the Scopus, which is indexed in the Web of Science, which is indexed in the PubMed. And when you are publishing the article other than the UGC care list journal, your articles will not be considered for publication, or your article is not considered for promotional activities. It may be published, but it is not counted. And these publication in the predatory journals are commonly taking place because of the culture which is called as pay and publish trash culture. Because any journal, whatever article you submit, they will ask you your articles are accepted. You pay 5,000 rupees, you pay 25,000 rupees, your article will be published in a forthcoming issue. Because that is the culture is created among the scientific community, among the faculty members. Pay and publish trash. Whatever you submit, that they will accept, because it is a predatory journal, it is not having any proper indexing status. That's why whenever you are choosing the journals for publication, always you have to see that the journals are indexed, whether it is approved by the UGC care journal. The UGC care indicates Consortium for Academic and Research Ethics. That is the reference list of journal is given in that UGC website. You have to enroll your name, then you have to give your user ID and password. Then you can able to see what is the journal is available under the public, under the discipline of arts, science, commerce, humanities, science, health sciences. Then health sciences, then you can see what are the number of journals are available indexed in the UGC list. Then in that journal you can go for publication. Yeah, you can able to see these two common similarities. Credible journal, which is indexed in the Web of Science or PubMed or Indian Citation Index or Scopus Index journal, they will be having the proper peer review. They will be having the revisions, and they will be rejecting your articles. Yeah, after revision or after incorporation of remarks or giving other things, then they will accept for publication. Then they go for publication. If it is a credible journal, for publishing one article it takes minimum of 6 months to 1 year. That comes under credible journal. For the creditative journal, they will give the red carpet. Greetings, we adore your research articles. Your article is published, and it will be published in the forthcoming issue, and pay this much amount of money in this particular amount. That is why it is the predatory journals articles acceptance is very very high. Publication is, it is very easy, but it is not counted, it is not having any value. And every PG student or the PhD scholars will be forced to go for publication, because they have to publish before completion of that particular research work, before that particular course work. That's why they go for the predatory journals, but it is not accepted. Yeah, this is the publication ethics checklist. We have to see whether I have a approval from the institutional ethics committee, whether my clinical trial or my drug trial are registered under DCGI, under CTRI, whether I have a proper documentation of informed consent, is there any manipulation of material data and research, have you checked your accuracy of data, whether I have used my prior work or I have copied the work for another publication, whether there is any simultaneous publication in two or more journals, have you published the entire work or part of it, that is the salami publication, have you excessively cited your own work, whether I have done my own self citation, have you included all the authors who have contributed for the research work, that has to be there properly, is there any guest author or ghost author, have you declared the relevant conflict of interest. This is the checklist which you have to follow when you are going for submission of manuscript for publication, or when you are submitting the manuscript for your higher studies. This is the checklist we have to always follow, to see that you have not violated any publication ethics. Yeah, these all about the publication ethics, and briefly we will discuss about the bibliometrics. A bibliometric is nothing but it is the method or application which is used to study or measure the influence of your articles, how much impact it has on the research community. That will be analyzed with the help of bibliometrics, and these bibliometrics can be done with the help of two format: content analysis and citation analysis. Content analysis is commonly done for the qualitative type of research work. It is analyzed what is the textual content you are having or you are communicating to the scientific community, is called as content analysis. And the citation analysis is done only mainly based on your research article publication. And why these bibliometrics are very very important, because nowadays every educational institute or every university is under the quality control, under the ministry of means MHRD ministry, under the UGC or under the NAC. Everybody wants to have their university, wants to have their institute with the higher number. That's why every university educational institute will go for the NAC accreditation, National Assessment and Accreditation Council. They go for the accreditation, and when they get the accreditation, A grade, A plus grade, B grade, and their university or the institute will be recognized better. Under this NAC you have a 7 important criteria, out of which one criteria is called as research innovation and extension, and it has the weightage of 250 marks. 250 mark is given for the research and innovation and extension, out of which the research publication carries 100 marks. That's why you see what is the importance of research publication. As a faculty, as a research scholar, I need to have more number of research publication, then only I can able to get more number of marks in that particular area. When I get more number of marks, ultimately it will influence your overall grading. Yeah, these are the number of questions, average number of papers per teacher, average number of papers per teacher which is in UGC Carlis, then average number of papers which is published in the PubMed, average number of papers which is published in the conference proceedings. These all will be very very important aspect. That's why whenever you publish, you make sure that it is published in the UGC Carlis, Web of Science, Scopus, and PubMed indexed journals. Then another important thing is that quality control is the NIRF, National Institutional Ranking Framework. Means every university, recently that MHRD ministry has given the university, dental, medical, overall university, what is the number of the institute, who comes first, who comes last. That's why the important parameter, third parameter is the research productivity, impact, and intellectual property rights. These also carries 100 marks. Out of 5 important criteria, the third criteria is the research, and this publication, the citation is having 90 marks for that particular criteria. That's why it is very very important to make sure that we are publishing more in number, thereby you will be getting more impact factor. Then here comes what is citation analysis. Citation analysis, it is the citation is the test reference or the acknowledgement of the documented information. That's why when you are writing the review of literature, you write the author's name and their citation number, superscript, reference number. That's why the citation is very very important when you are writing the research manuscript or when you are going for the publication. It indicates that your information, your result, your findings are cited by other person. That will be seen when you are publishing in your index or journals, then you can able to see in that particular things. That's why it is to identify the citation index, you can able to identify the popularity of your article and how much impact it has given on the research community. That's why the citation analysis are very very important. Yeah, citation counts, this is nothing but how many number of times my article is cited by other person. That is called as citation counts. And these citation counts will help you to identify what is the number of article you have published, what is the total number of citation, average number of citation, and the journal impact factor. That all you can able to identify with the help of the citation count. And it is very important that when you are publishing the articles in the open access journal, the citation count is always more in number, because the people will have a more access. The second thing is that H index. H index is nothing but it is the measure to quantify the impact and the quality of the published work in the scientific publication of that particular researcher. The H index is nothing but it is the based on the set of scientists most cited papers and the number of citation that they have received in that particular publication. That in simple term is that if my H index is 12, you have 12 papers cited 12 times or more. That's why it is called as H index. That is the very important index which is responsible for the improving your impact factor of your articles. Then you have a I10 index. And this H index is commonly used citation. This you can able to generate from the Web of Science and the Scopus, which will help to calculate your H index data. And if it is if you are using the Google Scholar, the Google Scholar will able to identify the H index. That's why you have a separate account, Google Scholars account. You have to create your own account. Then you have to publish whatever articles you are publishing. That all articles will be there in the Google Scholar account. Then you will be getting your data sheet, how many number of people have cited your article, when they have cited, where they have cited. That's why the H index data will be there when you are going for the Google Scholar. That's why the Web of Science and Scopus database is giving your H index, giving your I10 index. That's why the publication has to be done in the indexed journal. If the journals are not indexed in the Web of Science and the Scopus, you will not able to get the citation. The next thing is I10 index. I10 index is the number of publication with at least 10 citation. That's why it is called as I10 index. If your article is having minimum of 10 citation of that particular article, then you will be getting the I10 index 1, I10 index 2. That was introduced by the Google Scholar in the year 2011, which is open access, which is openly available in the Google Scholar. Then any individual who has published their article with the help of Google Scholar account, you can able to identify what is your H index. Whether it is H index is 1, 2, 3, you can able to identify. Yeah, download count is not having the good impact on the journal publication, because we consider the citation counts. But Google means download count also is one of the important predictor for foundation. If I download the article, it presumes that I will be citing the article for my research purpose. That's why the download count also is very very important. That's why every online journal will give the statistics, what is the number of downloads of that particular article, and which is the article has more number of downloads, most popular articles in that particular journal. That's why they give that in that website. Yeah, journal impact factor, because every research scholar or every faculty will be asking what is the impact factor of the journal, because impact factor of the journal will determines what is the rank of that particular journal. If the because impact factor is always from 1 to 10. 10 is the maximum limit and 1 is the lowest limit, and minimum you should have a two impact factors, two number should be there. And if you are having more impact factor, then your articles will be recognized as a good article. That's why the most common journal, we call it as a Lancet journal. It is one of the most highest impact factor journal. It has more than 7 or 8. That's why the impact factor also is very, it plays very important role for your based on the average number of citations to the particular article which is published in that particular journal. The average number of citations received by the article published in that particular journal for the last 2 years. Based on that, you can able to identify the impact factor. You see here, the impact factor is identified number of citation to the given journal over a previous 2 years, that is A. Then the number of research article published in that particular journal on the same period is called as B. Then A divided by B, then you can able to identify what is the impact factor of that particular journal. And as I said, the minimum impact factor should be there minimum 2, and it can be there at the maximum 10. And if the journal is new journal, it is not in the Web of Science or it is not in the Scopus, it requires minimum of 2 years, 2 consecutive years, then only it will be indexed in the Web of Sciences or the Scopus. Yeah, this is the indexing status. That's why as a researcher, as a faculty member, it is the responsibility of the faculty member to see that the journal what I am submitting the article is indexed in the quality database indexing status. That's why the important indexing databases are Medline, PubMed, Scopus, INHAL, Web of Science, InMed, and Indian Citation Index. This is the indexing database that is very important when you are publishing your articles. The Scopus, it is the multidisciplinary abstract and the citation databases. It covers how much is the scholarly abstract output, citation count, H index, citation score, SCI imaging, journal rank, everything it will give. And it is indexed, or it is giving the article from the year 1996. From 1996 onwards, you will be having the article, whatever is article is published under the Scopus journal. And this Scopus indexing database is having more than 22,000 journals across the disciplines: arts, science, commerce, humanity, health sciences, all the discipline you have the Scopus index journals. Then Web of Science also, it is also having the publication from the different discipline, and it is having the articles from 1900 onwards. It also gives total publication, average number of citation, then the total citation, and it is indexed over more than 1,000 journals. Yeah, then you have a Indian citation index. It is for the Indian articles, the Indian journals. More than 1,000 Indian scholarly journals are indexed in the Indian citation index. You can able to identify what is the article published previously and what are the articles are cited for the publication, that you can able to identify with the help of Indian citation index. Yeah, come to the take home points. The final means, out of this particular topic, the first important thing is the quality and the credibility of the research mainly depends on the integrity of the researcher. Means as a researcher, I need to have a proper integrity, honesty. I need to follow the proper ethical guidelines or the ethical principles of conducting the research and ethical principles of publication of research manuscript. That is the first important thing always we have to keep in mind. Then again, second thing is always follow the guidelines for the publication. That is very very important. That's why without following the guidelines, you will be having the publication misconduct. Then it is another thing is that continued education and the training is always important to keep the researcher aware about that particular research ethics and the publications misconduct. Then again, publish the research work in a Web of Science, Scopus, PubMed, indexed UGC CARE journal. That journal publication only will be counted. Other journal publication, the predatory journals publication cannot be accepted by the scientific community, or it is not useful for the promotion or any other activities. And again, do not indulge in pay and publish culture. Make sure that your research counts, and your research counts once you publish the articles in the Web of Science, Scopus, and PubMed indexed journals or the UGC CARE journals. Yeah, thank you for your patience listening. And if you have any clarifications, hope I presume that I have made everybody understand about the publication ethics and the uh, bibliometrics. And if you have any clarifications and other doubts, then I can able to clarify. Yeah, over to Sweta
Well,
Petnaik, madam.
yes, sir. Well, I would say thank you so much, sir. A very brainstorming and informative session indeed. We came across many new points which we were not knowing earlier, and you made us aware of such things. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing this knowledge. In fact, I think so. The participants have also taken the utmost benefit of it, and now they'll be able to prepare a good quality research paper and have a good publication indeed. Till now, we haven't received any queries,
Yes.
sir. But yes, many comments are there. Very informative session, and it was good listening to you. But we have some queries at our answer that we would like to share.
Yes.
The first one is like, how can we select a good journal for publication? You have told us that we can select the journals from UGC, Scopus, all these sites are there. But like, what are the characteristics? There are many journals in nursing. So, how to select a good journal?
Yes, madam. Because it is for when you are publishing your articles or when you are submitting your articles for a publication, we have to go to the UGC website. Okay, that's why I said when you are publishing the articles, you have to see the UGC CARE approved journal list.
Hello? I think so. Sir is facing some connectivity issue. So concluding today's session, since we are not able to connect to Sir again, we'll be sharing the Sir's email ID to you. In case if you have any queries, you can go ahead and mail to Sir. I'm really grateful to Sir once again for conducting this live session on national webinar on publication ethics and bibliometrics. Uh, as a researcher, we face many problems. Yes, indeed, the session would have helped you a lot in preparing a good paper and hope you'll have a good publication. I'm thankful to our principal, Dr. Aradhna Michael ma'am, for her wonderful thought of organizing this event. I'm thankful to Mr. Philemon Johnson and the technical person for carrying out this event successfully. And also my sincere thanks to all the faculty members who have directly and indirectly helped and supported me in conducting this event. With this, we end up the session, and the link for the feedback form will be providing soon in the comment box. You can fill up the feedback form and receive the e-certificates. Also, the PPT we can share if you drop an email address to us, and we can share the PPT to you. Thank you so much once again. Have a good day.